And Cabinet is still in the process of reviewing the Affirmative Action Bill presented by the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection. And to mark International Women's Day, which falls, of course, today, the Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministry says it is working tirelessly on getting Parliament to pass the bill that has been on the shelves for years, despite persistent advocacy by gender activists. The Affirmative Action Bill, when passed into law, will ultimately guarantee the equality of participation of women at all levels of engagement. JoyNews' Jacqueline Johnson-Quay now brings us this report.
The government of Ghana has been pursuing a policy objective of increasing representation and participation of women in governance, positions of power and decision-making through the enactment of the Affirmative Action Law since 2016. Though former Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection, Anoye Letha, promised that the bill will be passed by Parliament before the end of 2016 under the Mahama administration, it failed to do so. During the 2016 political campaign, the MPP also promised to pass the Affirmative Action Bill. A year on, the bill that ensures a 30% representation and participation of women in governance, public positions and decision-making processes is yet to be passed. Speaking on the sideline of Press for Progress walk and rally in commemoration of the 2018 International Women's Day, Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Otiko Afisa-Jaba, was certain there has been steady progress by the ministry to see the passage of the bill, which she says is before Cabinet.
It has emerged that some Ghanaians apparently are engaged in the human trade business up in Libya. Last year, CNN released a video of alleged slavery activities in Libya involving some Africans and African migrants. Foreign Affairs Minister Shali Ayokobotwe told members of Parliament a 5-member fact-finding committee was in Libya to investigate the issue and concluded that treatment meted out to detainees at various detention centers is satisfactory. She, however, says they discovered that some Ghanaians themselves were involved in the slave trade business, warning they will be dealt with ultimately.
The team observed that the condition of the detention camps they visited were generally satisfactory, with the exception of one of the camps where the inmates indicated that they were fed twice a day. All the others said they were fed 3 meals a day. In fact, one of the camps, the Jansu camp, was fitted with a laboratory and a clinic where the inmates were screened for communicable diseases. Mr. Speaker, with regard to the involvement of Ghanaians in the trafficking and exploitation of other Ghanaians, the team observed, after holding extensive discussions with a number of Ghanaians in Tripoli, that our nationals have set up camps along the routes across the desert where they exploit and traffic fellow Ghanaians. During the course of the journey, those who were unable to afford transport costs from one point to the other were handed over to ghetto leaders. The ghetto leaders, who are mostly Ghanaians, have set up camps, ghettos along the routes, which they operate in collaboration with their partners in Ghana. Per their modus operandi, when a migrant is handed over to them, he will be made to call his family back home in Ghana. His family will then be directed to contact the agent or the partner of the ghetto leader to settle the indebtedness, after which the migrant is released to continue the journey to the next town. When there is a delay in the settlement of the migrant's debt, the migrant is tortured and the abusive act video recorded and sent home to his family. However, in the event that a migrant is unable to settle his or her indebtedness, he or she is sent to Ben Walid, another city in southern Libya, and offered for sale to those in need of cheap labor.
But the spokesperson on the Minority on Foreign Affairs, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, says the answers given by the minister were not satisfactory.
We're going to continue to receive the footages. We are going to continue to see all of these dehumanizing and traumatizing video on social media, which we are all not comfortable with. We want to uproot this once and for all. We want to get to the bottom. So it is vital information that has emerged from the initial work that has been done from the team, but I don't believe that the team's task has ended or has concluded. Now,
I think the AU has abdicated its fundamental responsibility towards African people in Libya. Libya has no functional government because of what happened during the UN intervention. And as it is, Libya cannot remain in such a state of anarchy. And it's affecting everybody, including Ghanaians. This slave trade going on and illegal migration to Europe, all these were not matters that were happening in the Gaddafi era. Even if they were, the magnitude, the extent to which people were engaging in these things, I'm sure, was in the minimum. My point is, AU has a responsibility. The United Nations has a responsibility to protect citizens, protect lives, and ensure that democracy functions and functions well in Libya.
And still in the legislature, the minority is warning of a permanent boycott of proceedings following the Speaker's refusal to give its leader the opportunity to ask further questions when the Deputy Agricultural Minister, Kennedy Osei-Nyarko, appeared before the House. The minority leader, who was on his feet for about 5 minutes, but the Speaker ignored him and went on to invite the Foreign Affairs Minister, Shirley Ayokobotwe, to rather deliver a statement on the floor. The minority then decided not to contribute further to the discussions on the floor of the House for the rest of the day. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has more.
Deputy Minister for Agriculture, Kennedy Osei-Nyarko, was on the floor of Parliament to respond to questions on behalf of his minister. The minority leader had additional questions and rose up on his feet to ask those questions. The Speaker did not recognize him. He was on his feet for close to 5 minutes, and then the Speaker eventually asked the Foreign Affairs Minister to take the floor and deliver a statement that she had. And so the minority decided to boycott any further conversation on the floor of Parliament until sitting came to an end.
I could have used a lot more serious word to describe the way we feel. But for now, I would say we are very unhappy. Our leader, Honorable Anwar Idrisu, was on his feet, but the Speaker chose not to acknowledge him.
There was an attempted intervention by the MP for Futu, Alexander Afenyo-Markins, and well, the Speaker then made the point to him that the House and the business can go ahead even without the minority.
The Speaker, under normal circumstances after a statement, my very respected ranking member for Foreign Affairs would rise on his feet.
Honorable, if it's a contribution, please make it. These jobs are part of the problems in this house. And let us just make contributions without them.
And this is not the first time the minority has protested against the Speaker. And the Deputy Minority Leader, James Kluche Avaji, says the protest would continue until they think the Speaker has changed his ways. Well, we have to move on. And it is a perennial problem that has claimed lives and destroyed property over the years. After the June 3 twin disaster in 2015, government and the Accra City authorities vowed never again to allow floods to cause such grave destructions. But it appears something more concrete is yet to be done to permanently address the problem. And ahead of the rainy season, the Works and Housing Minister, Samuel Atachia, is assuring that efforts were ongoing to stop another flood disaster in Accra. He says desilting works are currently ongoing in major drains across the country.
Speaker, my colleague, who used to be a deputy minister in that powerful ministry, wants me to play God. And I declined to play God. I don't know the extent of the rains coming. But I can only assure you that what is humanly possible, the desilting processes to meet the interim, to give us the interim solutions will be done. But it will be very difficult to assure this august house that Ghana will be able to contain the flooding when we don't even know the extent of the rains and the levels. If you care to know, I think in some of the American countries, with all their underground powers of drainage, when the rains were very, very intensive, there were spillovers. So, right Honourable Speaker, I wouldn't want to play God, but I can assure you that the ministry will not go to bed, will do what is needful, and leave the rest to the elements.
But the Member of Parliament for Adaklu, Kwame Agboja, also a member of the Works and Housing Committee, is asking Ghanaians to brace themselves for floods this year as he casts doubt over measures outlined by the minister to deal with the current problem.
You heard him never give any concrete solutions. He more or less rehearsed what his predecessors have given in the past, that is to narrate what the problem is and suggest what we should have done, but never give anything. To make it worse, he says that he's been given only 5.5 million to do the silting. And for as long as we are concerned, if it rains heavily, and you heard him say that if it rains heavily, nothing can stop the Accra from flooding. We are aware that there's absolutely nothing going on. Even the desilting is not going on in the scale that can reduce the impact. So I'm very much disappointed in the answers provided. I wish this answer could have provided people living in Accra and environs some hope that there are some steps being taken by government to minimize the negative impact. But sadly, his answer doesn't provide that. So we have to just pray that it doesn't rain a lot. Otherwise, we are all in trouble once again in Accra.
In terms of concrete steps, what else would you have wanted to hear the minister tell us he's doing beyond the silting?
Yes, I did ask him a particular question, that doesn't he think that we have enough laws already that if enforced could reduce the impact a bit. They also decided to almost suspend all ongoing works in terms of contracts that were coming based on this deliberate way of creating unnecessary tension in the country by saying they are reviewing things. So as we speak, the NPP does not have a single roadmap or plan to deal with Accra floods. You heard him talking as if they are in opposition, proposing what they will do when they are in government. We will be doing this, we'll be doing this, but there's nothing on paper. He talked about Conti project, never even said whether they are continuing or stopping it. He's talked about so many things, structures in waterways, that he didn't tell us they are going to remove them. He talked about building underground drainage system. Well, with all due respect, we would love it if you can give us underground drainage system, but the top ones are not even working yet, let alone that. So sadly, I'm very disappointed.
And Kwame Agboja is a member of Parliament for Adaklu. Well, that's it for the news. We have a lot more news. We'll have the latest sports stories, and we'll bring you a lot more. Remember, we still have that great motivation from the chairperson of Ghana's Electoral Commission, Charlotte Osei, who is sitting host of the Joy Super Morning Show this morning. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.